It's great to be here. I arrived last night from a very rainy, cold Brussels to be here with you because I believe today's event and tomorrow's one is quite important. And 7 months ago, I was sitting in the office of His Excellency Adnan Al-Nourani, and we had this conversation about the importance of gender equality. We share the things like why we are women, 50% of the world's population, and why aren't we as well 50% of the leadership roles, of certain financial positions, and especially women in tech, we're still not there yet. And this topic is quite important to me, and maybe for the same reason as for you, I'm a mother. I'm a mother of a daughter, and I want her to grow up in a world of equal opportunities. I want that my little girl, Katerina, knows that regardless her gender, she can achieve anything she wants. That the world is her oyster, and she can create her own reality. And the second reason why today's panel is important is because, as the founder and the president of the European Women Association, we have built an ecosystem of investors, founders, and government representatives, and of course, accelerators. And corporations do help in that process. And today I have invited few amazing, to be more exactly, 4 amazing women that traveled to Dubai from Russia, from Romania, from Australia, and United States. So I give them a warm applause to the panelists of today. All right, thank you, ladies. Well, we don't have that much time together. So my intention for today is you to inspire this amazing crowd with your knowledge, your experience, and I hope that will lead to actions. So first, I'll start with you, Heather. Well, that's, by the way, the lady from the United States, but you've been here for a while, for over 7 years now. I would firstly start and do a short introduction, so you can more tell about yourself, and then I will dive deeper into the questions. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Yulia. I'm Heather Sullivan. I've been living in the UAE for over 7 years and doing business in the region since 2008. My background is in advertising, and 10 years ago, this month, I founded AIM Films. We are a full-service creative agency, and we create brand campaigns, communication strategies, and we're very passionate about telling stories. We work with some of the largest brands in the region, such as Emirates Airlines, ADNOC, Mubadala, and ADGM, and we're very proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Graciela.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Graziela Thake. I am the CEO of the Optimization Hub. I'm also the UN Secretary General to Pan-Africa for UN ICPG, and I lead a technology platform that specializes in human cognitive performance, dealing with both mental health, innovation technology, human speed, and we have clients here in Africa, India. We work with blockchain universities in preparation of a skills-based economy, creating both supply and demand, but also working with the greatest human asset, which is the mind.
Hello. Does it work? I am Elena Unciuleanu. I am a tech entrepreneur. I have a computer science degree. And I am the founder and the CEO of the company called Reporting Center. Reporting Center is a software company based in Bucharest, and we have built a RegTech platform that is currently used by 14 banks and financial institutions in order to automate their regulatory reporting that they have to submit to the authorities. And when I say authority, I mean the central bank, the European Banking Authority, the governments, credit bureau, Ministry of Finance, and so on.
Thank you.
Checking. It's okay, yeah? Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Yana Leonova. Since 2015, I have been involved in venture capital and startup ecosystem on various roles, positions, even various countries. And I'm also the co-founder of London Blockchain Foundation since 2016. And I'm also an angel investor. I just recently did a couple of investments in some companies I believe will succeed in this market. So more or less, I've been involved in this space on various positions and from various angles. And I think as a, let us say, as a woman entrepreneur, as a woman who is working on this place, yes, there is more what we could do about involving and educating and giving opportunities for women.
Thank you, Yana. I share your passion for investment and especially gender-lens investments approach. Well, let's start with you again, Heather. You just mentioned some big names like Mubadala, ADNOC, ADGM, and you've been telling their stories of the women in their companies. And do you actually see the shift when it comes to equality? Are there more women in tech? Are there more engineers? Or it's just not there yet?
Yes, absolutely. There's been a massive shift, and I can see that the UAE is very committed to reducing the gender gap, and it shows. Many of my clients are spotlighting women's achievements, and just a couple days ago, we were interviewing Fatima. She's an offshore engineer on Das Island. And during her time off, she travels around the UAE and she encourages young female students to study STEM. And as a result, there are many more engineers and there are many more women in the UAE in male-dominated industries. And there are many more role models for the younger generation. So I've seen a huge shift. And women are now comfortable and being in front of the camera. And I can tell you, a few years ago, women were reluctant to get in front of the camera and to share their stories. And in just the recent years, women are confident and excited and passionate about sharing their experiences. So that's been a really huge change, and it's exciting, and it's an exciting time to be a woman here in the region. And yeah, it's great.
No, thank you, Heather. And I think you're right. We need to see to believe it's possible. You are, four of you, a great role model. People will see and think, well, Heather is doing a great job, but maybe I should get in front of that camera as well. So thank you to tell these stories. Well, telling the stories, like let's go to the women in tech. There's a lot of complaining happening, like there are not enough women, and although, the technology is being built by the male brain, we need more women involved in the industry. So Elena, you've been in fintech, in regtech, as you correct me often. How was that journey, and does that journey from Europe will move to Middle East according to you, or again, we are not there yet?
Yes, as a lady in tech, my professional journey started 15 years ago as a software engineer. And in the last 14 years, I built reporting systems for more than 20 banks, and then I built my company reporting center. And while I was working on scaling my business internationally, I experienced a mindset shift. I made a transition from the software engineering mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. And let me explain you what I mean. I've learned some lessons, let's say. The first one is that I started to dare to take risks. Because when you are a software engineer, you are used to operating with certain elements, because computer science is is maths. It's clear, it's precise, 1 + 1 = 2. But when you are an entrepreneur, you start to operate with uncertain elements. So it's a mindset shift from certain to uncertain elements. Of course, there are also similar elements. When you are a software engineer, and actually coding is an endless process of trial and error. And as an entrepreneur, you have to learn to manage very fast these trial and error loops. Another very important aspect that I learned is to ignore the statistics and the stereotypes that didn't favor me. For instance, do you know that only 22% of the software engineers are women? And did you know that only 10% of the tech managers are women? And if we go farther, how many of these women software engineers are founders? And how many of the software engineering have reached $1 million in turnover? So what I realized is the fact that on your way to the top, the statistics are less and less favorable. So what do? Did that scare me? Of course not. Of course not, because I always said, okay, I'm the exception, I am special, and I moved on. The fact is that I understood very early that I am a minority, but I didn't want to play the minority card. I never expected privileges because I was a minority. I always wanted to work to fit in that 1%, not in the 99. And if I work to fit in that 1%, and you work to fit in that 1%, and she is working to fit in that 1%, in time, that 1% will become 2%, and the rest, it will be 98. And in time, the percent will get bigger and bigger, and we start to change the statistics. So of course, in my professional journey, all the cliches happened to me. I was the only woman in the technology world, so in a men's world. I was a blonde. I was at the beginning too young for my industry, for regulation. But I said that my vision is far too high from all these minor realities. So I moved on and I ignored the statistics. And now coming back to your last question, if the future includes UAE for me, of course, the future for reporting center includes UAE. Like Adnan said, I want to come to this planet, and I want to bring my software platform here to this ecosystem, because I started with the countries in the European Union, and because we automate regulation, we are searching for the so-called united countries that have unified regulation, like USA and like the United Arab Emirates. So in my professional journey, UAE is the next stop.
Thank you so much, Elena, and congratulations on the successes in Europe and soon in the Middle East. Well, when it comes to that 1%, let's go to Jana. You recently said, well, listen, I come from an investment background, I'm investing myself, venture capital, and then, as I understood, the Blockchain Foundation being part of it. So you are into technology, you are into Web3, and again, as Yelena, you are breaking all the stereotypes. And sometimes I think, well, it's maybe less crowded on the top when you are that 1 or 2%. But sadly, you know the statistics as well, only 2% of female founders get into the VC funds. So maybe you can share some insights how technology maybe could improve that percentages and increase it. What's according to you?
Yeah, it's very true. And I think this is even the statistics from the US market, what is like the most advanced in terms of venture capital and the most mature. So I'm even afraid to touch, other markets because in majority of countries it will be even less than 1%. And also if we look at the amount of the percentage of women who are LP in funds or here are on the position of executive directors, executive positions, they will be below 10%. So even in the US, it's about 10%. So not talking about the other markets. So when we speak about Web3 and technology in general, I think on the one hand, it's a really great field for less privileged people, and I mean it can be women, it can be people from less privileged countries or societies. They can actually enter this new world because it's so immature and it has so much potential, and the boundaries are like really opening for you. There's so much need for skills, for talents that were there never before. So now you're not, gaining any privilege by being in this sector for 10 years because actually nobody was in this sector 10 years ago. If we talk about even crypto and blockchain, it's all started, let's say, from 2016, even 2018, what is very, very late years. But again, if you look at the statistics, so statistics says that crypto users in the world are 7% are only women. If we talk about blockchain and engagement around blockchain and jobs, up to 12% are women, and the rest is again male-dominated. But when we speak about professions, for example, jobs, it's not only about coding. It's about providing content. It's about social media. It's about really much more creative jobs. And I think women would be the best, to deal and to add value to these jobs. So when you speak blockchain and crypto, and you might think about some software engineering, but there are a lot of other jobs around that can really benefit women. And the advantage is that it really helps a woman, in my opinion, to find a balance, because a lot of jobs you can do from home. So a lot of women, either they have a guilty feeling, when they spend too much time in the office and their kids don't see them. But with this digitalization, also with COVID to 2020, the world has changed and shifted to remote work. And it's a great window, I would say, for women to go, into this direction. But again, in terms of funding, yes, we are coming to this extremely low number. So, but what I think we need to do, first of all, we need to start with ourselves. So we need to believe in ourselves, as you correctly said, trust in ourselves. We need to support each other, to understand that we are not enemies, we are not competitors. This space is so huge that everybody has its own plan and its own story of success. So we need to gather together, we need to have communities, support, angel, investing. The same crypto, it also can help to do like a crowdfunding. So instead of now addressing like a big funds and institutional investors, you actually can create a crowdfunding platform. There are a lot of white labels on the market, and just source small amounts of money from the same, let's say, housewife to less involved women who believe in your project, who believe in your idea, and who want to make a change. Also government, and I think it's also important for the government to understand and not to underestimate the women power and the possibilities that women can bring to the world, to the future of generation. And for example, in the UAE, I was really surprised when I moved here in 2018. I was really surprised to see how smart they combine traditional, values, family values, traditional clothes and mentality in some point. But at the same time, I think women feel very entrepreneurial here. They are supported, there are various female councils, ladies clubs, association. In June, for example, in Abu Dhabi, they created a free initiative for ladies residents in Abu Dhabi. actually to get free of charge your domain on crypto, NFT, like blockchain platforms. They want to involve women in this Web3 space. They want to give knowledge, education. The same is happening in Sharjah, the same is happening in Dubai itself. And I think in many ways, I spent 8 years in London, 3 years in Switzerland, but I think in many ways, the UAE government is really taking a step ahead and really promoting and empowering and establishing great platforms for women to succeed.
Thank you, Jana. And I should confirm from own experience, we, as European Women Association, we opened our office 1 year and a half, 2 years ago. And in these 2 years, we had the opportunity to collaborate with the most free zones here, with the businesswomen councils, with the chambers in Sharjah, but also ADGM and Businesswomen Council in Abu Dhabi. So we see a lot of collaboration sense in the region, and that's the beauty of it. Well, Jana, you mentioned something about upskilling, about technology actually giving access to those who before that didn't. And I'll jump to Graziella because you've been working in the BRIC countries. You worked as well, of course, in US and Europe, but lately focusing on Asia, but also Africa. First of all, you work with many universities. What's happening over there when it comes to adaptation of the new technologies and how that impacts the new jobs? Like, are they being created while we're speaking? So maybe you can share more of your experiences.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you for inviting me to be part of the panel. Thank you, Mr. Adnan Al-Nourani, for having another great summit, and it's wonderful to be welcomed back again. And ladies, what a great stage we've got here. Women who are innovating and who are doing pretty amazing things in both technology, film and media. We're seeing so much change. And to address Julia's question, I think one of the things I'm going to say is that Gen Z, the space that I play in, but also working with corporations. So the Optimization Hub and what we do in brief is around human performance, human skills, the skills building economy. What we're facing right now is with both innovation and AI, it is important for us to answer the need of what Gen Z is saying they need in this next era. We have served 26 multinationals. I've come from a background in forensic psychology, working both in change management for the Big Four, and then going on to work in universities, working with governments, working with federations. So we house a platform that has 4 vertical markets, and all of them touch young people, as well as touching the demand chain of what's necessary for us in corporations, governments, and our federations as our social economic growth and the assets that the UN SDGs are now trying to address are falling far behind. And the mental asset is the greatest asset that we have. So when we look at the demand that's being generated by technology, our supply chain isn't keeping up. So young people, our current economy, we look at the Forbes statistics that $8.3 billion was lost to productivity in 2020. We now look at 2022 and we're facing that figure alone for the United States. What that means is that our skills economy is not yet both in an equity-driven position, but it's also not prepared for what's being demanded from it. So mental health, mental agility, human resilience, our greatest assets, are what governments are now demanding. So having come from that background of partnering with governments and organizations, now where I sit at 52 years old, leading a team of 70 that are now expanding to 120 internationally, and each week it's growing. This is my 9th visit to the UAE. Every time I come back, I come with a couple of days spare. I'm only here for 5 days, every 2 to 3 weeks, and every time I'm speaking at 2 or 3 summits, and again, the demand here is what can we do for our young to prepare them for a skills-based economy? ADGM, you look at what the necessity is for MAN, for social innovation. You're now looking at an economy that's saying to us, we're not ready because our education system is outdated and outmoded. So cognitively, we're being pushed. And if we talk about our role as women in both technology, but also in innovation and leading, I believe, and if I can disrupt the apple cart, that we're looking at skills. We're looking at skills-based economy, we're looking at a skills-based asset, and Equity Drive is going to be about how fast we can prepare and educate. If we are going to do anything, it has to be with equipping Gen Z for a world that we ourselves are not prepared for.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Graciela. So we are coming to the end of our panel, and I would like you to end this session with a thought or with a question that you want the audience to ask themselves when it comes to equality, diversity. We know that when we are speaking about diversity, and not only in gender, by the way, I'm speaking about nationalities, religion, you name it. The more diversity we've got in teams, the more creativity, the more innovation, and at the end, it's good for the ROI. So, Heather, what's the thought you would be leaving us with?
Thank you. Well, my thought is, and I think several women have touched upon it today, I think it's so important as a woman to mentor young women. And I think we all need to ask ourselves, are we doing that enough? Are we mentoring the young women around us? Are we giving them advice? Are we supporting them? Are we guiding them? And I think I've had that in my life, and I think that's been a tremendous impact on my success. And I think it's our job as women to really be aware and to be actively mentoring young women. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Graciela?
I guess my thought would be, it picks up on the first keynote today, which was super impressive. You know, fear is just a question. And so I believe in having broken a number of glass ceilings and coming out as, you know, Woman of the Year in 2020, I would say to you, in driving any asset, drive yourself first. Be yourself. Don't let anything outside of you demand something of you that isn't you. Don't be misshapen by the environment around you. Ensure that you help your fellow human beings around you, because if we don't work collaboratively, we're not going to get any place. And in having led a company that went from 8.5 million to 20 million that now is forecast for 200 million, never dare to dream big, because if you're delivering anything in this world, deliver a service that people need, and ensure that you don't limit yourself. Surround yourself with people that you want to be like, and be seen, don't be invisible.
Thank you. Yelena?
I want to reiterate the fact that you have to dare to act now, not when you're ready, because you are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress in the same time. And remember, if everything is under control, you're going to slow.
Thank you.
I strongly believe in a personal responsibility, and I think, like before, you know, addressing the government and I know in United Nations and all other organizations, we need to start within ourselves, our family, the way we treat our kids, let's say especially daughters. Yes, if we give them this belief and confidence in themselves, if we leave this confidence in a younger generation and tell them that boundaries are just in your head, nothing is impossible. I was born, you know, in a Soviet time when everything was closed, and none of my relative or friend ever traveled abroad, ever spoke any language. And I had this in my mind, like, I will see the world, I will speak languages, I will live in different countries. That time it was just like, you're out of your mind, like, what are you talking about? But I always believed in myself. My grandmother always believed in myself. So in the end of the day, yes, I traveled in more than 60 places, I lived in more than 3 countries, I speak various languages. So there are no really limitations unless you have them in your mind. So that's my strong belief.
And I will support that. Yes, that deserves an applause. Thank you, ladies. Everything you said resonated deeply with me. The values, I think when we connect on value-based, we can co-create beautiful things. When we launched 13 years ago as European Women Association, our main focus was co-create. If you want to create an impact, let's do that together. So my invitation to you ladies, and you're already part of the family, but also to the people in the room is, well, let's collaborate, let's co-create, let's focus on ecosystems, and you will see there are amazing people out there that want to see you succeed. Thank you so much for your attention, and see you outside. Bye.